Okay, here we are back in DCS and OpenXR. On the OpenXR toolkit, I was getting about 46 frames per second in my last video when I tried to set a benchmark without using DCS or a DFR. And now I seem to be getting, well, I'm above any scenery right now, so the frame rate may be unnaturally high. 49, 45, 49 frames per second. 58, 70 looking at the sky. Okay. Let's get underneath these clouds. Or maybe not. Yeah, I just don't have the energy to just hang with that guy. So we'll dive down. This is mostly to see what the frame rate's like anyway. Alright, so I'm showing 64, 66. Alright, 50s, mid 50s over the town. 48. I think it's working. Dynamic foveated rendering, I think it's working, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it is, because when I look with my eyes without moving my head to the left for the throttle and mix and all that, I see it's a little bit blurry, but the stuff in the center is good. Now I probably don't have it set optimally, because I'm really only seeing, you know, on average, I mean, it occasionally reads really high, but I think that's because I'm set for 120 Hertz, and it's going to show a really high reading whenever we're looking at nothing but sky. But, oh, come on, Dave. Let's get some energy here. Yeah, looking in front of me, I'm seeing, I don't know, maybe 5 frames per second better. It's not optimized. I think there are some settings I can play with in OpenXR toolkit. In fact, let me just try that now. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but I'm going to try and open up OpenXR toolkit. All right, we don't have foveated rendering on, so I guess I guess I've been kidding myself. Oh, wait a minute. We're not using foveated rendering here. We're using quad rendering of some sort. So if I put this on, I think we're going to find that. Yeah, my frame rate actually doesn't get any better at all. I think it might screw things up a bit. I don't know. I'm not really clear on how this type of rendering works in DCS, because it doesn't require you to turn on foveated rendering in the Pimax client, and it only works in OpenXR. So, and it seems to me I read in OpenXR, in the discourse or on the GitHub page, that it's not exactly, it's not the same thing as foveated rendering. So let's turn it off, leave turbo mode on. That's good. Now I'm going to have to, oh, I just realized something. Ha! I made the most elementary mistake of all, Watson. I forgot that every time you make a change in OpenXR, you've got to restart VR. So let's try turning it on again. And then we'll see exit menu. And now I'll restart VR. Oh, except to restart VR in this game, I have to exit the game. Shoot the cat. That's one clumsy thing, but okay. Yeet. I don't think I'm going to do that. I think we'll just resume. For the rest of this sortie. Yeah, you know, I'm showing 7, 8, 9 frames per second more. I don't know. I don't think I'm supposed to turn on foveated rendering in the toolkit, because the runtime for this quad whatever it is thing replaces that somehow. Just got to sucker that guy into coming down low and turning with me, because I can't play the energy game with him. That's a 109K4. He's got a lot more usable thrust than I've got in this little i16. But I should be able to out-turn him pretty easily. Nope, almost went into a spin. Gotta get some speed up. Force the overshoot anyway. I know there are more settings you can play with, but I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing, so I'm going to leave it kind of set at what would be, I don't know, would you call it the base setting? Stock setting? Not having touched anything setting. Because this is definitely playable. I mean, right now I'm in a lag pursuit, and I'm showing between 56 and 60, 65 frames per second. So if I seem to be getting a decent frame rate for a 3090, and I'll have to check and see what graphic settings I have in VR for DCS. They have a setting for pixel density, or pixel density if you prefer. And I want to try turning that up and down and see what happens. I gotta get him a little closer. Now, yeah, see, it's bouncing around a lot. But the most I had before was 48 frames per second. And now the least I have is about 48. And the highest is 64. So I think it's definitely working. I just followed the directions on the on Matt's GitHub page for it. And I'll see if I can put a link in the description below. I'm sure there are ways to optimize this. Not the least of which would be, you know, turning down resolution to start with, but the whole idea of this is to allow me to maintain a fairly high resolution where it counts, lower it where I don't need it, and get better frame rate. It's like a win-win, right? Well, I'm not normally that good a shot, so... Oh, is my engine going to quit on me? No, that was just a negative G cutout. Oh, gosh, I love this game. I love this little airplane, although... I think there's a flight model update for it, which I'm going to try to remember to grab. It's... yeah, it's kind of a trick getting the gear up and down. Let's unlock the gear first. We'll set it to down. Not sure what that does, but let's see if I can get slow enough to get the gear down. Too fast, I think. We'll throttle back a bit. Maybe I didn't need to move this thing. Let's put it back. I guess I had the gear locked, and I didn't know it. I'm just learning this airplane. I've flown it a bit, but I haven't really... All I've ever done is get up and shoot at 109s in it and fool around a bit. But I'd like to learn it a little bit better. I think whoever made it deserves that courtesy from me, because it's really quite an impressive piece of work, I think. I figured out how to use the mouse. And thank God for DCS allowing us to use the mouse. That's really cool. And it reads the mouse really well. I mean, DCS does so many things well. The cockpit models, the flight models. It's just... Every time I get in this program, I think, boy, I got to do more of this. Okay, let's lock that gear. And let's just check with an external view and see if I do have it locked. Looks like it's down. Yeah. I don't know if there's a gear indicator on the wing. Sometimes there is. There's no light to show me that it's down and locked, but okay. Well, I'm very likely to turn this into a rolling pile of fire on the runway. But if you've been following the channel for a while, you know that I've done many stupider things than that. So let's give it a try. Let's set up for left base here. You know, I like the scenery in DCS. It's varied enough to be interesting, and it matches up with the scenarios nicely. You can use it to navigate, find your way from base to base and town to town. Most of all, I like the way they've accepted the challenge of trying to modernize the code here a bit. The program now uses, you can force VR on it, and it now uses multi-threading on your CPU. And for me, the problem I had with it was always the CPU would bog. It would get bogged down with all the extra work it had to do. And now that it can multi-thread some of those challenges, it's, you know, just with that alone, I think I got 5 or 10 frames per second more. And now with this dynamic foveated rendering, I think I'm going to see pretty consistent 8-9 frames per second more, which is great. And if I set the ring of clarity a little smaller and allow the outer rings to become more blurry in settings, the frame rate will go up even more. But I think I'm going to leave it like this for now, because for me, I'm fine with this frame rate. I don't know if I would be in a first-person shooter or something where I had to move around a lot. It might not be enough to keep me from getting nauseous. I think a lot of people need more frame rate in those games than I need in flight sims or driving games. But if I can get, 50, 60 frames per second, I'm pretty happy in DCS, especially if I'm in the middle of a big fight. Oh, I was a little bit high for that. Oh no. Oh no. So close and yet so far, or so fire. Once more into the breach, dear friends. Well, anyway, great fun. I love DCS. I love DCS in World War II. I gotta play this more. I've got to find some servers that actually have people on it and play that. And thank you for watching. It's nice to know that we've got dynamic foveated rendering working pretty well in the Pimax Crystal, along with standalone and automatic IPD adjustment. It's becoming the headset that they promised back in 2022, and I think that's a wonderful thing. And all of these good things are going to be available to you as an owner by the middle of this month, I think. I think this beta software becomes available to everyone by the middle of the month, and there may be a final update at the end of the month. I think there's going to be a celebration by everyone, from owners to operators to beta testers to factory workers, when the Crystal finally gets to the final stage of development and can be declared stable, if not completely finished. And I'm really looking forward to that, because this is a primo headset for flight sims. It really is. It's just astonishingly good. And I'm glad that they've kept working at the software and the firmware and getting it right. Pimax does that. You know, they make a lot of promises. They release things too early. They screw up their launches. I mean, they do a lot of things wrong. But they keep grinding away until they finally get to the point where they have provided the things that they promised. And they did that with the 8KX. The only thing that fell short for me were the sword controllers. And that was because they couldn't get... I don't know exactly what the problem was, but it was something with Index not allowing them to use functions. I really don't understand these things. I don't know whether it was a conflict between Index and Pimax or whatever, but that's the only thing I really feel they didn't come through perfectly on, because everything else has worked so far. And oh yeah, the base stations are coming too, and I guess those work really well. We beta testers haven't got them yet, but a lot of prominent YouTubers are already testing it. Yep, they get it before the beta testers, but we're not bitter. No, actually we're really not. We'll get to test it sooner or later, probably about the same time you guys do. But we know it works, and that's a great thing. And it was a great thing for me that you stopped in to share this time with me, and I hope you'll come back. We will talk soon. I promise.